right, this is part A, how to make a ceramic tile. All right, first we have to flatten it out. So of course we need our clay. We need some kind of rolling pin. I like a bottle of water. Something to pound it with. You could use your hand. Could be just a flat piece of board. You need a template. What is the shape of your tile going to be? Here's just a plate from my kitchen. A round plate. It's going to be used to trace onto the tile. You could cut a shape out of cardboard. It can be any shape you want. You're going to need a fork, your ribs, your wooden tool, cutting the clay. You need some boards, something flat, could be a book, a newspaper. Notice this isn't shiny newspaper. This is the dull newspaper. This just ended up on my lawn for advertising for local grocery stores. Any kind of board, book, something to hold it down. We're gonna flatten this and then we're gonna keep it overnight and then wrap it in plastic so it's perfect when we dry it. Hopefully you have one of your big bags with clay. This is the easiest. I'm just going to undo this. Take it out of this bag of clay. Take it off the wrapper. Notice it is the long way. I'm going to take my my wire, and you want this project to be, the tile to be about your thumb or your index finger. I'm short. I often use my index finger. That's about 5/8 of an inch. If you're confused, look at your ruler. You want it to be. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire. I'm going to make it more than my index finger right now. Let's see here. Because I want some wiggle room. It's about the size of my thumb. And then I'm just going to pull this along here as evenly as I can to make a flat slab. Okay, ta-da! Make sure you cover your clay back up. Dry clay is not fun to work with. Now, if I'm going to have it the size of this plate, I'm going to need to cut 2. Okay. If I make it square like this template, I need to join those. And for this plate, it's not wide enough, but it's very thick. This is almost 2 inches thick. So I just need to flatten it. So you can pound it or roll it. I love this bottle of water. You want some thickness on this edge so you can carve into it, but it's still pretty thick, so I have some to go here. And it still needs to be wider if I'm going to use this as my template. There is a technique also where you kind of slap it. You have to be careful because it can get very uneven from thick to thin. So pay attention. You want this to be the same thickness. As much as you can. You're going to be carving into it, you're going to be adding on. If we were in the class, we actually have a machine that's called a slab roller that would roll this out for us. See how I'm doing here? That's good. Okay. Using this as a template, I'm going to take my kitchen knife, or if some of you have a fettling knife, going around the edge. This does not need to be perfect yet. This is just what you're going to do for the overnight. Why am I saying it needs to be in between books or boards or something overnight? That's because it helps the clay stay flat. One of the problems with clay is the edges dry first before this center, and so they curl up, and by having it stay between boards or books or something in paper, you'll keep it flatter. I'm making it a little bigger because it's still pretty thick. And I'll recut it tomorrow. So I made the template, so I got the basic, made sure I had enough clay. I'm just trying to see if I can get it relatively even. This is better. There we go. It's thinner than the size of my thumb right now. It's about 5/8 of an inch, a little over a 1/2 an inch. Okay, now you'll need 2 books, 2 boards, 2 something. Here's a board right here, and newspaper, paper towel, napkins. Why? This is made out of cellulose trees, and it wicks away the moisture from the clay. So I like to call it the tile sandwich. So I'm going to put this, my board or book, something flat, could be on your concrete. And then my clay. Then more paper towel or newspaper. And then another board. And then I like to put something heavy on top. I'll just stack books or something. I'm going to leave this overnight. The next day, it will be fairly firm because the paper that you have the sandwiched in has wicked away moisture and firmed this up. If you don't do this, your clay is too wet. But then once it's perfect, tomorrow when it's perfect, I'm going to completely wrap it in plastic. Pretend this is tomorrow now. So once it's perfect, you always want to keep it as flat as possible. Okay? And then I can wrap this up and work on it without it drying out. Overnight, it's just usually the first night. If you do this Sunday night, it'll be perfect on Monday when we proceed. Here we go. What if your template is one size, but your slabs aren't big enough? How can you join 2 slabs together? Well, it's called stitching. So here's the edges I'm going to join together. I'm going to put it on a little bit of a diagonal so it doesn't get too thick in the middle. My clay is very soft, so you'll notice I'm not adding slip, but I am scoring it, both sides. And I put those two scores together, blend it. Notice you can't do this if your clay is leather hard. You'll have to slip it and have a lot of compression. So now it's important to have a lot of compression to join those clay particles. Clay molecules are flat, and so the compression just puts them into a nice alignment. Flip it over, otherwise you'll have a line. See that? You have to get rid of that line. So it's nice to either have, finally, using your wooden rib if you have that, or your metal rib. See what you like best. The metal rib, or when you're working with flat things, or your wooden rib, they just can create a nice flat surface for you too. Now, how's that? It's a little bit thick still, so I can roll it out a little bit still. This is about approximately my index finger. Don't make this too thin. You need at least a ½ inch. Otherwise it can, when it shrinks, it can crack. The larger your tile is, the thicker it needs to go. When I make 2 feet tiles that are 2 feet, it's almost an inch thick. And they have to dry very slowly. Okay, now my template's ready to go on here. I can just cut this out. This doesn't need to be perfect today. You're just getting it ready to be compressed overnight. So I have a board, I have some newspaper. Try and handle this gingerly. You don't want to fold it like a taco. Clay has memory, and it could easily go back into that taco shape. If you do accidentally bend it, smooth it down. I'm going to compress this. If you don't have newspaper, you could use cardboard. Cardboard is cellulose. It's made from a tree, right? You just need to have some kind of material to help dry that out overnight. So I've got my sandwich, board, paper, clay, paper, board, book, something, right? You could have a stack of flat, anything flat, and then something heavy on top, and you're done.